In this video we are going to take a closer look at the April Deathwatch tournament results, focusing on the release of the balanced data slate and whether we are already seeing any major changes to the faction. The tournaments covered are the Fantasia Fanatic XLI 40k, the Bristol GT, Rataclysm 2022, Show of Force, YHP 40k GT and the Dallas Open. Over the course of the video we will go through all the relevant results and lists in an attempt to find out whether the Deathwatch supplement still stands a chance against the newer and more powerful codex releases. For the final part, I will offer my personal conclusions and a quick wrap-up.
Welcome to SwissHammer, your channel for modeling in Warhammer 40k. My name is Tammer and I will be guiding you through this video.
Mid-April marked a big moment for Space Marines, and the Deathwatch included, because the third balanced data slate did not only bring nerfs to several overperformers, but also saw the addition of the Armor of Contempt rule, which boosts power armored factions. I have covered these changes in greater detail in a previous video, the link is in the description. Continuing the trend of March, Deathwatch and generally Space Marine attendance was comparably low during the first half of April. As a result, the only noteworthy tournament for Deathwatch was the Fantasia Fanatic XLI 40k, an event with 82 players over 5 rounds, where Michael Klangby scored an amazing rank 4 with Deathwatch, going for 1 among a sea of overpowered clowns, town custodies, all pre-balanced data slate. How was this even possible? Well, without wanting to diminish the result, looking at the matchups, we have round 1 against Necrons, round 2 against Blood Angels, round 3 against Custodies, the only top tier army and his only loss, round 4 against Genestealer cults, and round 5 against Orcs. For his list, Mikhail played the Army of Renown, which looks as following. For HQs, a captain on bike with Dominus Sieges, librarian with Xenopurge Discipline, and chaplain on bike with the Beacon and Chalice. For troops, we then have double Indomitor kill teams, one with the Boltstorm Aggressor Bolter and Scepter combo, and the other going for the less popular Flamestorm Aggressor variant. It might as well have been that the tournament ruled auto-hitting flamers to count for Specialism Extremis, given that he put the Aquila Specialism on that kill team. We then have 2 Costello-style Proteus kill teams, as well as a Spectrus kill team with 5 Incursors and the Lord of Deceit Warlord trait. Overall, a potent list inspired by Michael Costello, with favourable matchups and the event taking place pre-balanced data slate. Speaking of which, all remaining tournaments covered in this video are post-balanced data slate. For the second tournament, we have the Bristol GT, a big event with 183 players. Here we have Michael Costello once more carrying Deathwatch as the single representative of the faction, going for 1 with the following matchups. Round 1 against Emperor's Children, round 2 against Rukari, round 3 against Eldari Clowns, this the only loss, and then round 4 and 5 against more Eldari. He certainly faced a lot of space elves there. Looking at his list, he made several interesting changes. For HQs, he dropped the Xenophae / Captain and replaced him with a Watchmaster equipped with the Tysted Bind and the Tome. The other 2 picks remain as they were, a Librarian with the Xenopurge Discipline and the ever-popular Primaris Chaplain on bike with the Beacon and Chalice. For troops, much to my dismay, the Spectrus kill team is gone, replaced by a Forest kill team with Assault Hellblasters, certainly a great choice, and interesting to see that he is adding that one back. It used to be part of one of his earlier list iterations. For the rest, we have the Indomitor kill team remain as it is, and his 3 signature Costello-style Proteus kill teams undergoing slight war gear changes. Basically, he replaced some of the Thunderhammer Stormshield Terminators for the much cheaper Lightning Claw variant, and the vets are down to 2 Stormshields, but overall it is still largely hammers and chainswords as it was before. Overall, great list, and Michael Costello once more achieved the top Space Marine placement at an event. Congratulations! Much to my dismay though, he stated after the event via Instagram that he will put aside Deathwatch for the time being and join the the Vile Xenos, you will be missed, Michael. Who is going to carry the faction now? Moving on to the third tournament, the Rataclysm 2022, an event with 75 players, going over 5 rounds. Here we have 2 Deathwatch players, both of which did really well. First, we have Terence Drew on rank 13, going for 1 with the following matchups. Round 1, a loss against the other Deathwatch player of the tournament. What a showdown! He then won the other 4 rounds, going against Thousand Suns, Sisters, Chaos Demons and Genestealer cults. For his list, he was not playing the Army of Renown, but it is nonetheless nothing short of amazing. For HQs, we have a beefed up captain on bike with a Thunderhammer and a tech marine. For troops, we then have 2 minimalistic Deathwatch veteran squads with 5 shotgun guys and 2 Proteus kill teams with 3 Cyclone missile launcher Terminators and the Black Shielded Thunderhammer and Chainsword. For the rest, we have 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts and 2 Corvus Black Stars. What a champ! The shotgun vets most likely hop into 1 Corvus each, and the Redemptors can now benefit from Armor of Contempt and no longer needing to remain within Dominus Siege's bubble range. The second Deathwatch player, Matthew Jackson, ended up on rank 21, going 3-2 with the following matchups. Round 1 as previously mentioned against Deathwatch, going in his favor, then round 2 a win against Tau, round 3 a loss against Custodes, round 4 a win against Thousand Suns, and round 5 a loss against more Thousand Suns. For his list, he played the Army of Renown, which looks as following. For HQs, he has a Chaplain with Jump Pack, Power Fist and the Beacon. He then has a Chief Librarian with Primorphic Resonance, fortified with Contempt and Mantle of Shadow. He then also has a Watchmaster, loaded with Optimized Priority, Nowhere to Hide and the Tomb. As I was mentioning in my earlier video covering the balanced dataslate, both these warlord traits are playing neatly into the new missions and Armor of Contempt changes. Great picks there. For troops, he had an Indomitor kill team with 6 heavy intercessors and 4 bolter inceptors, basically a lightweight variant of the more commonly seen one with the aggressors. On the sergeant, he took the ties that bind and artificial armor. He then had 4 Proteus kill teams, the first with a mix of Power Fist Terminators, vets with Power Swords, a single van vet as well as a biker. The next 2 kill teams were kept relatively cheap, with shotgun vets and 5 van vets with Power Swords and Jump Packs to use with Combat Squad, giving the list some decent mobility. The 4th Proteus kill team is then loaded with Deathwatch Terminators with Chain Fists, Cyclone missile launchers and Deathwatch frag cannons. Last but not least, he also managed to squeeze in an apothecary. Overall, an interesting version of our Army of Renown, and I think a great attempt at trying to capitalize on the Armor of Contempt changes. With this many OPSEC bodies, I think he was easily able to outplay the other Deathwatch list he faced round 1. Moving on to the 4th tournament, the Dallas Open with 155 players over 8 rounds. Out of curiosity, I counted and compared all the Space Marines present at the tournament, given that this was taking place the last weekend of April, and therefore the participants had the maximum amount of time available for adjusting to the new balanced data slate and Armor of Contempt. Out of the 155 players, only 26 played Space Marines though, which is 16.8%, only very slightly above the numbers of last month's bigger tournaments, meaning that the players either jumped on other power armored factions or are still sticking with the more recent powerful codex releases. Of special note is the clear increase in Salamander's players though. Only 1 Deathwatch player was present, putting the percentage below 1, which is low in for Deathwatch standards. Nonetheless, Brian Rowe brought along the Deathwatch Army of Renown and went 4-4 with the following matchups. Round 1 a loss against Grey Knights, Round 2 a loss against Necrons, Round 3 a win against Space Wolves, Round 4 a win against Thousand Suns, Round 5 a loss against Imperial Knights, Round 6 a win against Drukhari, Round 7 a loss against Imperial Guard, bloody hell, and Round 8 a win against the Sisters. For his list, he he had a Phobos Librarian, Primaris Chaplain on bike, and Watchmaster as HQs, and then rocked the full 3 Indomitor kill teams for troops. One with 5 Boltstorm Aggressors, one with 5 Eradicators, and one with 5 Bolter Inceptors. That's a lot of Gravis bodies. To round things up, he also brought along a Forest kill team with 5 Outriders and a Chief Apothecary. On one of the Indomitor Sergeants, he also had the Artificer Armor, combined with the Chief Apothecary and fortified with Contempt from the Librarian. This potentially makes for a very durable brick. Moving on to the 5th tournament, the Show of Force, and he went with 24 players over 5 rounds. Here we have Joe Waddock on rank 7, going 3-2, with an almost exact copy of the list played by Michael Costello, with minor War Gear and Warlord trait changes. Link to the list is in the description. Moving on to the 6th and final tournament, the YHP GT, where we have further good news from Deathwatch. This was an event with 56 players over 5 rounds, with Martin Hertel ending up on rank 5 with Deathwatch, going 4-1. His matchups were as following. Round 1 a win against Grey Knights, round 2 a loss against Tyranids, and then 3 more wins against Eldari Clowns, Custodes and the Dark Angels list completely packed with Terminators. Certainly no easy matchups there. For his list, he played with what I would consider a quite interesting take on the Army of Renown. For HQs, we have a Chief Librarian in Terminator armor with Psychic Mastery and the Beacon and Chalice. What is a bit odd here is that the upgrade would have allowed him to take a 3rd Xenopurge power next to Primorphic and Fortified, for instance Mantle of Shadow, which can be very useful, but I don't know whether this was intentionally left unused or he simply forgot that he can make the selection. But anyway, we also have a Chaplain on bike with Xenos Bane and the aura increasing Vox Spiritum, as well as a Watchmaster. We then have 4 Proteus kill teams, one loaded with Cyclone missile launchers and further missile launchers on the Vets, 2 in Costello style, and then one more with the classic Van Vet and Infantry Bikers combo. Last but not least, a Spectre's kill team with 5 Eliminators, clear winners of the latest changes in my opinion, always love to see those. All in all, while the big return of Space Marines has not yet happened, and no meta chasers jumped on Deathwatch Army of Renown either, I think that Deathwatch continues to do well at events, most notably during the second half of the month, and it's not just Michael Costello bringing home the results, though of course his feats will be sorely missed. What we are clearly seeing, however, is the impact of Armor of Contempt on the lists. Generally, less symbol saves are taken, be it the Dominus Sieges or Storm Shields. Thunderhammer and Storm Shield Terminators are also being replaced by other variants, though 1 or 2 still remain part of the Costello-style Proteus kill teams and variants. While the Army of Renown still reigns supreme as far as Deathwatch results is concerned, my personal favorite is the 3 Redemptor and Double Corvus list, but as we were seeing in the direct matchup with Deathwatch, having several combat squads and generally OPSEC can easily outplay these vehicle lists. I think the troops are in a very good spot now, and the Deathwatch Army of Renown can capitalize on that. We are also seeing a return of optimized priority and nowhere to hide, with the latter being an excellent counter to other Armor of Contempt lists. Lastly, should we see more Salamanders showing up, this might result in really uncomfortable matchups for our Army of Renown, as we are basically throwing away the points for the mandatory specialisms past the specialism extremist strategy. That one hurts. To wrap things up, over the course of the video, we have looked at Deathwatch April tournament results, including Fantasia Fanatic XLI 40k, the Bristol GT, Rataclysm 2022, Show of Force, YHP 40k GT, and the Dallas Open. While the Armor of Contempt rule has not yet caused a big return of Space Marines, Deathwatch has done particularly well in the second half of the month, with Michael Costello going 4-1 at the Bristol GT and Martin Hertel also going 4-1 at the YHP 40k GT with the Army of Renown. In general, we are seeing a drop in invul saves across the lists, most notably the Dominus Sieges seeing far less play, which means that the semi-mandatory captain can now be replaced by a Watchmaster, which is a change we have seen in a lot of the successful list. Furthermore, Thunderhammer and Stormshield Terminators have been partly replaced by cheaper variants, including Double Lightning Claws and Stormbolter with either Power or Chain Fists. Michael Costello himself brought back the Forest Kill Team with Assault Hellblasters as a replacement for the previously used Spectre's Kill Team. Unfortunately for Deathwatch, he will be playing something else for the time being, leaving us all wondering who will continue to carry the faction. But anyway, I think that sticking to the Army of Renown with the established kill teams and bringing back warlord traits like Optimized Priority and the Nowhere to Hide will continue to serve us well in this newly developing meta. One thing to look out for are other power armored factions, Salamanders in particular, which will cause our Army of Renown lists a major headache due to their chapter tactics switching off wound rerolls. So that's it for the Deathwatch April tournament results and the continued appearances of our Army of Renown. What do you guys think about these particular lists? And do you think that the Kill Team Strike Force can win any tournaments now that we have the Armor of Contempt rule? How have you guys been doing against the most recent codex creep? Let me know in the comments. Finally, I would also like to mention that there is a SwissHammer Facebook page where I will be posting links to my videos as well as articles I find of interest. I do read a lot about the hobby, but not all of it will always end up as its own video. I look forward to seeing you there as well. I do also have a Patreon page. If you like my content, any additional support is greatly appreciated as it helps me invest into future videos. As always, thank you very much for watching, guys. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. I hope you have been enjoying this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again and see you next time.